and in today's video we're looking over August. I don't know about you, I'm actually very curious, please let me know in the comments below, but there has just been something magical about this summer that I can't quite place in a good way. Like, normally, fun fact about me, I actually used to have a lot of anxiety around summer, especially when I was younger. I really just, this fear of being like, oh my God, I have to go back to school. I have to go and sit there for 9 hours for a long time. Didn't really love that. I also, didn't love summers, even after I was no longer in school, because it was usually so hot, I couldn't do anything. I'm very heat sensitive, and once that, sun pops up in such a strong way, if there's a lot of humidity, I feel like all my energy gets drained from me. And so does my motivation to go do fun things. And then you feel bored and tired, and you're just waiting for the summer to be over. But something's been different about this summer. I have a lot more excitement and motivation. I feel extremely present. So it always feels like the next activity I will do, whether that's something as simple as just watching a movie or sitting outside, it's exciting. It feels different. Isn't that funny how one day the same activities you do feel boring, the same thing over and over again. You're starting to feel like the days are melting together in a negative way. And then the next moment, it feels like you went on an adventure. Even if you did the same thing you did before. Even as something as simple as like going to get a little coffee treat, a little coffee drink of some kind, can feel magical. And I just wonder if you guys feel it too. I don't know, I'm just really loving this summer, and I hope that energy and vibe is being sprinkled your way. So we're going over August predictions. I'm very excited to go into this, but I also wanted to point out something interesting my spirit guide wanted me to do. So the spirit guide I work with when I'm doing tarot asked if I would do 4 cards. That's it. And they said the specific reason why they wanted me to only pull 4 cards and then read from only that is they wanted to talk about, specifically with you guys, not just tarot readers, but the idea in general of it's not about how many cards you pull or how much you have, but what you can work with and the information you can pull out of what you do have, the smaller amount. So it's that same concept of feeling like you need more and more and more. And we're not just talking about materialism. In fact, I don't really want to refer to materialism. It's okay if you want to enjoy purchasing things and having a good time. There's nothing wrong with that. We're more talking about the idea of when you're in search for information. You're trying to better understand yourself. You're trying to understand, well, why this? Or how come I feel this way? Or where am I going? Or what draws me to that? Whatever. It's not always about the next thing. No, this is it. It's about going deeper into what you already have, that you already have the information staring at you right in front of you. You just have to understand how to better break it down and see all the little possibilities and ways of looking at it. And this is just something to think about as well. But often when we're manifesting, the universe reflects back to us what we're putting out energy-wise. So in so many layman's terms, if we're very desperate and putting out sort of an energy of like we're lacking and so therefore we're unconsciously doing that, the universe says, oh, so you don't have it, and reflects that back. But if we kind of are cool, calm, and collected and we're like, yep, already got it, or oh yeah, of course it's coming my way easily, even forget about it, which is often the best results when it comes to manifesting, wishing for it and then backing away and letting it do its thing without thinking about it. It reflects that. It goes, oh, of course, you said if everything comes to you easily. Oh yes, of course. So it's that same idea. It's getting out of that mindset of what's the next thing, where can I get the next detail, and slowing down, looking right in front of you, the world around you, and say, what can I understand from what I already have now? So it's both a fun exercise in general, but just something to contemplate, not only in your own tarot reading, but in life. Whatever you're working through or understanding right now, look at what is already there and what do you feel like you get from it, or like understand from it rather. In addition to that, I wanted to let you guys know, if you want to support me, I have a Patreon, and I just posted 2 new videos over there that I'm very proud of. One is about preconceived limitation, and it's going over how that often pops up. To be honest with you, it is one of the most common things I hear people exercise in their vocabulary, and they are unaware they're doing it, and talking about how to face that and how to overcome it so that you can push forward and get to the next place you want to in life, whether that be emotionally or self-discovery. Maybe you have particular goals that are more like career mindset or love or whatever it is. It can be seen in every single part of our life, and understanding how to identify that and face it and overcome it. And the other video is about how to further develop your mediumship and psychic abilities. I am deeply passionate about this because, fun fact, did you know that everybody is psychic? And everybody is exercising it way more than they realize they are, and being able to how to identify it and grow from it and turn it into something where you're conscious of it and in control of it. Well, I go into depth quite a bit over there as well. I'm very passionate about it. I love it. It's made my life significantly easier and better, and I want that for other people. In addition, I have an intuition training course. Little fun fact, if you want to know more about the psychic mediumship ability stuff, I'd highly recommend checking out my intuition training course, where I talk about how to get to the spirit realm and bringing the non-physical world and those themes and concepts and ideas you understand there and overlapping them into the physical world in your daily life, and how they are really kind of overlapping. In addition to that, I also have a tarot training course, and I love it because it gets you into reading the cards instantly. But while it's made the process more simplified and understandable, it also doesn't lose any of the details and the nuance and the metaphors that are seeping through every single card that you're going to see today when we're reading. So both of those are also available in the description below if you want to check them out. Now, going back to our card reading, we have 4 groups in front of us. We have group number 1, Selenite. Group number 2, Howelite. Group number 3, Rose Quartz, and group number 4, Pyrite. I'm going to give you a moment to think of August. You're resonating with that summer magic in you and ahead of you, and you're going to pick the card that resonates with you most. Card group, sorry. Now that you have, you can go down to the description where you can skip to your designated group and marked crystal. But let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1. Let's find out your August predictions by looking at the cards. Your oracle card is unexpected visitors upright. The King of Cups in reverse, the 6 of Cups in reverse, and the 4 of Wands upright. Wait, did I say in reverse? Upright, upright. Give me one moment to look at the details of these cards and to consult my spirit guide. Ooh, okay. I would definitely say, if we were to sum up the theme, if you will, for August, we're going to describe it as shaking things up. Some things that might be shaken up on your behalf and in positions you might be put in to have to deal with. All really good, all really positive routes where it's going. So first we've got the Oracle card, Unexpected Visitors upright. So some things throughout this month are going to not go the way you initially think they are. You've got a plan and it's going to get rerouted. You're going to think you're going to be able to do something one day and kind of be forced to change course of action the next day, kind of, or within the same day. Your plans are going to change essentially. Things you want to have happen are not going to work out the way they necessarily are going to work out. However, that is not a negative thing, especially with this card being upright, I'm happy to say. So while it initially, that's how my spirit guide said it was, it said, initially it might seem inconvenient or like, oh no, why is it working out this way? But this is a fantastic way adventure starts. That's the main thing. It's not about like bad fortune or something you're doing wrong. It's like the universe is forcing you to experience a different path in a fun way. I'm not talking about the kind of like lesson learning type of scenario where sometimes we go through inconvenient scenarios to understand like who we are as people better, figure out how to become better problem solvers, stronger as individuals emotionally and intellectually and stuff like that. This is more like, well, I thought I was going to do laundry today, but then I ended up making a friend at the local coffee shop, and instead we had to go on this fun little adventure. We drove somewhere new together, and we went in a totally different direction than where I thought my initial errands were going to take me for the day. Yeah, I didn't get that errand done I wanted to get done today, but like I had this whole fun other expedition. So, like I said, initially there will be a reaction from you to be like, oh man, I wanted to get this thing done, or oh no, it's not working out the way I initially planned. Take a second, breathe. August is a fun month of adventure, so when you feel that moment of like, oh no, what's going on? Don't jump to your mantra being what's wrong. Be like, okay, let's see where this goes. Let's not be reactionary. Let's see, is there a little adventure behind this? Let's keep a positive spin to it. And it's not just about the positivity that's going to bring about the adventure. Like that will happen on its own. It's more of the idea of like, if that's going to happen, you might as well be comfortable in the transitionary process of processing like, okay, things are going to go the way I thought they were, and just be open-minded. In fact, if we want to talk about like lesson learning, this is actually a fantastic state of mind to take on, because if we sort of tell the universe and ourselves, well, this thing didn't work out the way I thought it was going to, and you keep that sort of aura, if you will, that energy of like, hey, well, maybe this is an opportunity to get the job done in a more efficient way than I had realized. Or maybe this will teach me to be a more creative person when it comes to problem solving. Or in this particular case, an adventure and something fun I didn't even think or didn't know was going to happen can possibly happen if I keep that sort of open possibility and mentality. Again, it's going to happen nonetheless, but it's a good training so that going forward after this fun time period, anytime something like that happens, the world feels more of your oyster rather than like, no, I wanted this thing to go this exact way, and it kind of helps you be more flowing. Now that flowing theme is really interesting when we have what's going on over here specifically in the King of Cups, but you'll definitely catch my drift how it sort of seeps over into the Six of Cups and even a little bit of the Four of Wands upright. So in the King of Cups, I want to talk about this analogy my spirit guide was describing the card as. They said, this individual is really sitting solidly amongst these wave of emotions. Waves in general, we can view them as emotions. Traditionally, if you're familiar with tarot reading yourself, it is the representation of emotions. But let's just view these waves in general as things happening around you. Events, emotional reactions from people, positions you're put into to be emotionally reactive. And we're not just jumping into conclusions and saying negative. We're thinking of every possible avenue. Surprised, excited, scared, upset, delighted, all the whole rainbow, so to speak. Anyways, this individual is a representation of you typically at this moment. One, it's a compliment, but it's an interesting compliment that talks about your desire and success at going beyond. And this is, I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself. Okay, so you essentially are really good at staying solid with all of these things happening around you. You stay sturdy and unmovable. You don't get swept up in it emotionally. You're in a really good place of self-control and self-understanding. And so you're vibing and you're doing really great. But this is the fantastic thing when it comes to ourselves, the universe, everything. There is always more. Period. There is always more. There's always more information. There's always more answers. There's always more things to explore and understand. So for a lot of people, the King of Cups almost feels like the definitive endpoint for when it comes to understanding ourselves emotionally and just in general the way we handle things. This is someone who is such a master of their emotions that people often go to them for guidance and advice. But here's where it's really interesting. You've gotten to a point where you're like, you know what, I am really sturdy, I'm really in control, I know what to do next. And again, remember the King of Cups, they get sad too, they have off days, but they just know how to handle it in a really mature, sensible, emotionally intelligent kind of way. But in reverse, here's where it gets really interesting. You're going to start exploring what it would be like not to be an island. This is how my spirit guide described it. They said, this individual is sitting on sort of a self-made island that enables them to be secure and sturdy as the waves crash and move around. But you're kind of interested in seeing if you can be kind of more of like a boat. Or can you sway along with the waves, still not getting caught up with them, but kind of flowing with them, ebbing and moving? It's really interesting because with tarot, you can, again, we always talk about getting more information. That's the whole point of this exercise with 4 cards. It's interesting you didn't get the Queen of Cups. And this is again how you can become a better tarot reader, by always looking at the subtext. Queen of Cups is a card that talks about somebody who moves with the ebbing and flowing, but she more hints to the idea that there is sort of ups and downs and dealing with losses and highs and that type of thing. So that makes sense why she didn't show up. It's not just someone handling it, it's implying like you're dealing with stuff. This is talking about the subtext of where you're at, again, a complement of how the mindset you're in, but with it being in reverse and with the specific meaning that my spirit guide was telling me about, talking about overcoming the sense of an island and wanting to go to a boat, we not only understand where you want to go, but where you're coming from. And often when we understand where we're starting at, it makes it easier for us to transition to where to then go next. So again, this is still you being very emotionally stable, but being able to sort of take that risk a little more and not just be someone that, I mean, this could be anything from knowing when to, well, I don't want to say set boundaries, just take the visualization that you go with life not just consulting and staying in one place, but trying new things. And as these positions in life, again, we talked about the adventure, push you around, you are able to ebb and flow and be the unmovable force, but you don't need to be an island that doesn't, therefore, try the new things. I'm trying to explain it the best I can because I know you're understanding what I'm saying, but I want to be clear. This is not only just the things you experience throughout August, which will be a very fun month apparently, but also it's like an energy you're feeling. It feels like you learn that your anchor point is no longer just a mantra or an attitude you have or a position physically, but the anchor isn't in the environment and sort of just purely the beliefs. It's within your very soul. And the more you realize, as long as you have yourself, and this is going beyond somebody who has mastered themselves and their emotion, you're going to that next sort of unconscious psychic level. When you have that so anchored into you, it creates a fluidity, because now you've gone from somebody, again, I hope I'm not rambling, apologies if I am, just trying to make this point clear. What's really interesting is the stronger you get, and you can always get stronger and you can always understand yourself a little bit better, there'll be a point where you kind of need to sort of set your standing and being like, build your castle, if you will. We talked about over here with him sitting on his island. But you hit a point of such strength that you can be fluid again. to get to this island, to build this island, you had to be someone who had to experience the highs and lows of life and go through your tragedies and the successes you experienced. And then you hit a point where you're like, okay, I figured out who I am, I'm good. But now you can go back into ebbing and flowing with a different type of security and sturdiness. So again, this is a lot more of you taking chances and understanding yourself and the way you interact with the world around you and individuals in a much more complex, nuanced way that, again, is very difficult to put into words, but I think you catch my drift with all the metaphors and explanations. I think you get what I'm saying. Now, going on over here, we have the Six of Cups. Now, my spirit guide wanted me to focus on the spiritual meaning behind these lambs or sheep spiritually. Now, specifically, we're focusing on the idea of when an individual feels they need to conform to social or family norms. This is really interesting. Now, it looks like in the month of August, this is more of an opportunity-based card. This is more going to happen. Again, we talk about the subtext of the way the card is in reverse, that it shows you making the active choice to sort of leave the island, find the anchor within yourself. We see that it's going to happen. There's going to be unexpected sort of situations you're kind of thrusted into, things working out in a way you didn't anticipate. But in the Six of Cups, we have a very stationary sort of look to the card. But I want you to notice the little cheekiness over here with this little lamb have a little cup, the little cups pouring out. So think of them stationary in their little cup. They've got maybe a little bit of water in there, and one's pouring a little bit out, a little bit of venturing out of, again, we talk about that stability again, that anchor, that everyday norm. So when we talk about the possibility card, this is really, I think, an important card when you're reading, because it talks about the idea that there's a very good chance you might not step up to the plate if you don't really want to do it, or you keep conforming to these ideas. But there is also still the chance you could. So it's a chance that can go either way, and really it's just an exercise of free will, and the decision is yours. But something to think about. Cards and meanings of cards only pop up when needed. So it looks like you're getting a lot of opportunity in life to shake things up, to go on adventures, to explore yourself in an even deeper way with its environment, which is an adventure within itself. But over here in the Six of Cups, this is asking yourself, well, why do you do what you do? Do you feel like you're unable to maybe you feel too shy and you feel like it wouldn't be appropriate for you to say whatever you're thinking or your opinions? Or maybe this could be a really silly one. Maybe you feel normally like, oh, I can't just go out and start dancing and being silly. This is like we're in a little coffee shop or a restaurant. That would be ridiculous if I did that. But why? That's not really a big deal. It's just a fun little thing. But what's keeping you from doing these things? Are you concerned what everyone else thinks? Do you feel maybe you don't make decisions based on what your family will think? And this is you kind of sort of testing that and realizing that this is not something you're imprisoned in, and this is not sort of even an obstacle. It's just what you think you need to do. And asking yourself, well, do you really want to do it? Do you want to try that impulse you're sort of feeling? Are you making the focus what others people think and confusing it for what you actually want, rather than checking in and then fulfilling whatever it is that you're sort of being pulled to? And keep in mind, cards can sound really intense and dramatic, but sometimes it's the subtle things that really add up in life. So you might not be in a really intense position where maybe your family's like, no, we don't think that career choice is good for you, and you're like, but this is my passion, and that would be you breaking free of what your family anticipates of you, right? But that's an extreme case. I'm not saying it can't be the situation for you, because this is a general reading, but this could be a lot more subtle. Like maybe you go out and you're with your friends, and I say this facetiously, it's so crazy that you wanted to get a dessert, and only dessert for breakfast, and not I don't know, bagels or something like that. I love a good bagel. But the point is, that might make people feel like, really? Are you sure? Is that what you want? I don't know. Like, that would be an opportunity for you to be like, yep, life's short. That's what I want to do. That's what I feel connected to doing. And that's a little a small thing that can give you a thrill in the day and start to make you view life differently from such a small, what seems inferior action. So again, this is a possibility that you can take advantage of, but it can only happen if you sense your daily actions and choices and then choose something a little bit differently. Follow that impulse. Now going on over here, we have the Four of Wands upright. Now speaking of all of this shaking it up, and it all leading to really fun things, the Four of Wands talks about a party, a really good time. My spirit guide was very excited about the energy of this party, and I felt it too. It's not just like you're getting together, it's a small gathering, and well, I mean, it could be a small gathering, you can have a good time with just a couple people, but it's just like you're vibing and you just all chat and have a nice conversation. It feels like dancing. It feels like being silly and laughing and running around. It just feels quite exciting, the adventure around it. Now here's where it gets really cool in the Four of Wands. You're going to meet an individual, and I asked if it was romantic, and I was told in some cases, but in the remaining amount of cases, this other individual is going to give you an opportunity, and it's a big opportunity, and one my spirit guide said you should take. So this opportunity is fantastic and exciting, and this is I'm just going to double check with my spirit guide one thing. That's what I thought. Okay. So they're confirming what I was saying. It's not a career opportunity. Oh, wait, my spirit guide's interrupting. For some, not all. Okay. For some, it might be a career opportunity, but not all. The majority we're talking about. It's this situation you're like, hey, we're gonna go do this. Would you be interested in this? Hey, would you be considering trying this out or volunteering for this thing? Do it. If my spirit guide said do it, follow it. You're going to be happy. One of my favorite things my spirit guides say is they always say, you will be very happy with the results. That's the most common phrase they'll say. You'll be very happy with the results. So definitely if a spirit guide kind of steps in and goes, you should totally do it, listen, it's a good time. It's something that often... It's funny how little things in life, and that's definitely a theme we've got going throughout this entire reading, can add up to so much more. So I'm very excited for your August. Lots of growth and changing things and really finding a lot of optimism and magic within your environment, life, and yourself. So I love this. Anyway, if you enjoyed this too, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'm wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing the next one. And let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2. Let's look at your August predictions by looking at the cards. We have your Oracle card, Peaks of Joy in reverse. 2 of Wands in reverse. Oh, the spirit guide of hummingbird is here. I mean, not just in the card, but my spirit guide's here, and this spirit guide, the animal spirit guide hummingbird's here. Okay, fantastic. I'm excited to hear what they have to say. And the Eight of Swords upright. Give me just one moment to talk to everybody and look at the details of these cards. Okay, so there is sort of one main concept that is primarily being focused upon for August. This is your main sort of drive and focus and happiness finding. That's the major theme. It's a very, how do I say this? It feels like you're exploring a new chapter of yourself. Like maybe you thought you've sort of written your book and knew who you were and what your goals are, and you're kind of like, yeah, I'm here. I've got me all figured out kind of thing. And now you're exploring something else, a little bit of a different side. And you don't quite have a label for it yet, and you don't quite know how to explain it to yourself or others, but you're feeling drawn there, and it leads to a lot of happiness, just a lot of fun. It makes me incredibly smiley when I'm picking up the energy of it all. So let's get into this. First, we have the Peaks of Joy Oracle card in reverse. Now, this card is, it's a little bit upfront. It essentially talks about this idea of deriving joy either from material objects, like too much, and that being a negative thing, but whether it be material objects or the sort of mantra you have in your head of, well, I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I lose that weight. I'll be happy when I date this person. I'll be happy when I reach this goal. And whether it be a material object or sort of an idea, it's like you're putting a pause on your happiness. Again, I just want to be absolutely clear. You can go for these goals, and it's totally wonderful that you enjoy, you find a great amount of happiness in beautiful things. There's nothing wrong with beautiful things. However, when you are coming at it with an attitude that you have to somehow wait, I'll find this joy in life once, I put into the future and reach this thing. And often in many cases become a situation where you're always putting it in the future. And then when you get it, you kind of put it in the future again. Well, this is the next thing, without living for today and this present moment. And that's a big thing I feel from the entire theme. You're going to hear me go into that much heavier in the Two of Wands in just a moment. But it's this feeling of realizing that you've kind of viewed the world in sort of I'm just going to explain this the best I can. It's like, I wouldn't describe you as materialistic. That's not really the vibe, because materialism has kind of its own, you hear it and you have certain sort of energies and thoughts when you hear that. You know what I mean? It's more like your brain has created, I'll just describe what my spirit guide was telling me about, sort of like a kingdom, if you will, like the imagery of this. They said this is a queen in her kingdom, and your kingdom is filled with ideas and structures and sort of points. So not all of them are physical, like some beautiful clothes or something like that, or some fun little, maybe you got yourself a fun video game or drawing pad or something fun like that. But sometimes your kingdom is filled with being happy and reaching a certain point in your career, or maybe you really like where you live or something like that. They're concepts too. Anyways, it's this feeling like you're breaking free of, again, it's not quite a prison, because obviously you've chosen all these things and they are making you happy, and we're not saying they're negative, but it's realizing like you've thought one way your whole life and you kind of want to do something totally different. Think sort of outside of the box, if you will, when it comes to your everyday way of viewing and perceiving life. You know what I mean? A good example would be like, let's say you wanted to be, you wanted to be a real estate agent or something like that, right? And every day you look at houses, and you think which ones are for sale, and you think when you go to the store, you want to buy things to fill up the house so it looks lived in, so you sell them faster, all that type of thing. And this would be the type of idea where one day you wake up and you kind of don't know what you're going to do that day. And you start to wonder, when was the last time you just listened to an album, like a song, like music album, and you're just laid in bed and thought about the lyrics and didn't know when was the next time you were going to eat a snack or something like that. You just kind of vibed. It would be that totally different way of thinking, and it being almost jarring, but not necessarily in a negative way, just being like, whoa, I didn't realize I couldn't imagine my life outside of this type of thinking. It's just a good way to put it. Now, going in further into the Two of Wands, I'm going to explain in a moment why it's upright, because it's actually being technically read upright. It's just in reverse to explain where it's heading and the card it's interacting with. So, we have the Two of Wands upright. In this particular case, I love how my spirit guide was describing this. This is a queen on top of her kingdom. Except if you'll notice, she's very prepared. She's got a strong leadership. She's aware of what's happening next. The sort of mood she's in is like there's nothing, it's got a great time of peace. She feels like it's really well organized. She knows how it's where everything goes. She's thought of all these brilliant plans of how to improve it. But despite all of this, she's kind of starting to look out to sea and is a little bit bored with her kingdom. And I was asking questions to my spirit guide. I said, does she want to expand her kingdom? And my spirit guide said, no. It's almost like she'd like to leave it. She doesn't see it as abandoning it and leaving it all behind. Again, we talk about that sort of life, the way you're living it now. It's not about leaving it all together. It's more that she'd like to feel what it's like not being a queen. What would it be like just being a traveler? And it's not necessarily the perspective where she's thinking the opposite. She's thinking, the lack of expectations. Again, it's just viewing things in a completely different way. She wonders if she didn't have to wake up and she's not thinking of what's her next plan to improve the city, but instead she woke up and thought, well, I don't know where I'm going to go next, and I'm excited that I don't know, and I'm excited that I'll see some adventures and beautiful things along the way that I've never seen before. And that not knowing is kind of exciting. It's that sort of mentality of, again, not unhappiness of where she's at and everything's wonderful and great. It's just this drive to see a different side of both the world and herself. So I love that. That's very fun. So that's all heading into the Queen of Swords, but this is actually being read for its imagery by the animal spirit guide Hummingbird, who has shown up. Now, hummingbirds are very joyous, the representation of like pure joy. I want to be clear about this type of, because there's so many, one thing that's really fun that you can really understand from if you do a lot of meditation is there's always a bunch of different ways of describing one single concept. I'm talking about even the idea of nothingness. I don't know if you know this, but there are tons, I mean a lot of different ways of experiencing and processing and understanding the idea of nothingness. And that includes joy as well as other ideas. So when it comes to the animal spirit guide hummingbird, I'm just going to say hummingbird for now on, but that's what I'm referring to. This is a very fun energy. It's very light. It's very silly. It's not really thinking one moment to the next. It's not necessarily about its innocent or its impulsiveness. There is, and this is what my spirit guides, hummingbird, trying to get the right vocabulary down. This is what hummingbird said. Hummingbird said, tell them this. Say, you can find the nectar of joy in even the smallest of places, and was showing me the imagery of a hummingbird, diving in and pulling out the nectar of a little bit of flower and then fluttering over to another section. And it's like, if you realize that there's a little piece of happiness in each one of those flowers, and you sort of back up and see the bigger, you could say Bob Ross painting of the landscape or picture of your life, then there is a little bit of something fun, a little bit of something happy in every single tiny little moment. And if you add that up, it's not about it adding up to the bigger picture, but this is a really sort of abstract thing, and this is why I'm saying it's such a sort of a complex thing to describe. It's more than, you've maybe previously seen happiness as big concepts, big gathering ideas, and you're sort of reversing that and seeing the individual tiny molecular, I'm going to say molecule, molecular, you know what I'm saying, level of the individual pieces you can experience, and viewing joy from more this way, like the individual parts of the sum. So, you get what I'm saying? So again, this is you sort of pulling out of that mentality and approaching life in an entirely different way. This is a lot of pausing and stopping and stop seeing these big sort of goals you're viewing, and taking a moment to look at every little action you have and say, is there a way I could see something exciting about this? Could I even look at my pen and wonder where it's been and all the adventures it's seen? Or maybe do a cute little doodle right now for fun, or do a little game with maybe your coworker you don't normally talk to right next to you and play a little fun game. Could you pause in the grocery store or when you're going for a walk and see if there's something that makes you particularly excited about it and focus on it? Like, I love when you go for a walk in the fall. Don't you love stepping on the crunchy leaves? And that's like really focusing on that and paying attention to each moment, and then making that the focus of the walk. Or again, if you're in the grocery store, being like, you know what? For fun, what if I just went and bought like every treat I possibly could want right now, and I didn't sort of put a reserve on it, and realized this whole store was filled with lots of little exciting sort of impulses, and I could just fulfill that. So I'm just giving a couple examples here, but you get the gist. Every little aspect of life, and can you find it and viewing it in a totally different way, which I love. Now, last but not least, this is not something going to happen, but a deep fear that's sort of, if you will, motivating or kind of hanging out in the background. Again, not a prediction that it will happen, but a fear. So over here in this imagery, you can see that the individual is sort of creating I don't want to say like a wall, but we'll just use that for now because I'm trying to think of the right word. They're blinding themselves. They're creating sort of an obstacle around themselves, between themselves and others. And it's sort of like you're cutting yourself off from the world, cutting yourself off from that happiness and excitement by saying like, no, I can't do this. It's almost this feeling of, if I say no to this impulse you have, again, the impulse to go outside your kingdom, am I going to create a more longer term situation where I don't allow myself outside of just what I've created and seen? Is this only going to be my world? Am I only allowed to have one kingdom? Am I not allowed to experience the whole universe? And again, it's not that it will happen. It's this underlining sort of fear that is a motivating factor of saying like, am I accidentally building that for myself? And maybe I don't want that. So again, this is the major theme, is tapping into yourself, realizing that you don't need to put your happiness on hold, but we're being very specific about where you're finding it and where you're heading towards. Again, it is very complex and emotional and energy related that you won't quite be able to fully explain to others or even yourself, but follow it. It's there for a reason. So August is going to be a very fun but self-discovery month for you, and filled with ideas that you don't normally focus on. So I love that for you. And I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did, please leave a like, a comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I am wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3. Let's find out your August predictions by looking at the cards. We have Magical Map Shifter, Oracle card upright. That is a fantastic card. The Strength card in reverse, 9 of Cups upright, and the Page of Swords upright. Okay, give me just one moment because a bunch of other spirit guides popped up, and so we got kind of like a group, a crew, if you will. So I'm going to look at all the details and go consult them for 1 second. Okay. Love in August. Okay. Man, August is just like a fantastic month for everyone. I love this. Okay. So let's first start with the Magical Map Shifter card. This is so, well, magical, not to be redundant. It's really beautiful because the main concept behind the card is this idea that everybody or particular individuals that come into your life have great meaning. That you're coming in contact with them for a bigger reason. They're helping shape the person you are, helping either bring you to a position of safety or a better version of yourself by your interactions with them, and they have great meaning. Now, the cool thing is, I was asking the crew, the spirit guides, I was asking them, is this a particular individual? And I love this. Multiple of my spirit guides were like, everyone. Everyone you're coming in contact with in August has some sort of value or importance in your life. And this card is all about stopping, realizing, and being extremely self-aware of what's happening and the experience. Not only out of a level of like just the enjoyment and gratitude of it, this is more about realizing that whatever our environment is, whether that be with individuals we talk to, our surrounding objects, everything is adding something to our life. And that can be for negative or positive. Now, I'm happy to say, let me just double check this. Yeah, I was just double checking it's positive. My spirit guides were like, oh, of course it's positive. So this is a positive circumstance, I'm happy to say. But by realizing what is going to help bring you to be the best you, not only can you keep those people in your life, but it helps you better understand your ability as somebody who can identify, a good judge of character, that's the word I'm thinking of. To be a good judge of character, you start to realize the way you interact with those people help better define yourself and where you want to focus your desires, your goals, and think about where you want to go in the long term by saying, well, if I want this type of person in my life and they help bring this out of me, then clearly on some subconscious level, I want to, have more fun or be more focused or whatever it is, but it's going to be a lot of wonderful special interactions. And to be honest with you, it's something that sometimes we overlook. Like, we love our friends or people we care about, but we don't feel that every interaction we have is the most significant one. Sometimes you're just chatting with someone, sometimes you're just having a little bit of a hangout, and then there are those moments where you meet even a stranger or someone you kind of knew from work or something like that, and before you know it, you have this deep life-changing conversation that helps you better understand whatever we're having difficulty processing in the past, or better understanding how to formulate an idea that was on the tip of your tongue but you couldn't quite get it out there. Imagine that, though, literally all month in every way with every person. So it's gonna be a fun month. I find when you have a lot of these interactions over and over and over again, it makes life feel like a giant summer camp. Feels very magical, feels like memories are being made. It just feels special. And the coolest part is you're just being you, and you're just in your, individual world, if you will, and it's all happening around you. It makes life feel very special, and there's just a lot of fun and growth and a lot of presence. That's a big thing. A lot of people, if you're into meditation or in general in the spiritual community, people talk about presence, but fathoming presence is different than understanding it. It's not that you wouldn't get it. It's like you get it, but sitting and deeply connecting to the idea, deeply being aware, being able to understand every little moment in its fullest, in the most present way, totally changes your view of reality in an enormous way. And the way we can feel present isn't always just through meditation. Sometimes it's just being very present in the moment when you're interacting with someone. And isn't that great that all month long, all these individuals you're connecting with, you feel that motivation and inspiration to be there. So there's inspiration, there's excitement, there's learning, there's understanding, there's specialness, there's magic. Love that for you. You can see why I get excited about particular cards, because this is just a side perspective, but as I've lived life, I've really understood that there are things that we might overlook or not necessarily wish for because we don't think it's at the top of our value list until we're in it. And then we realize, wow, I didn't know this is what I was looking for. This is the feeling. I knew the feeling I wanted to experience, but I didn't know how to get there. And this is one of those unique circumstances. So I love that for you. Love that for that August. Now, continuing on with that sort of unique perspective, I guess you could say, unique circumstance, we have the Strength card, which is being read in reverse, I'm happy to say. So my spirit guide said we're looking at the imagery of the card for this one, because remember, you can read cards in many different ways. And if we can see, we have this beautiful, confident individual. She is stepping forward, if you can see in her actions, and starting to move forward. She is trying to get her little friend over here, the lion, to move. She's like, okay, come on, we're going. And we've got this. And the lion is not budging and sort of holding themselves back, a little bit shy, maybe not trusting possibly of the next circumstance they're going into. While this other individual is like, no, I swear, let's go. Come on, we've worked on this. We can go. Well, the lion in the traditional meaning of the Strength card, and in this particular case, can represent this idea of a beast. It can be from somebody else, but in this case, it's for you. And this is where it gets really interesting. Now, typically this card is described as sort of like that part of yourself. It could be anger, it could be jealousy, maybe it's a very primitive part of yourself, but whatever it is, in this particular case, it's actually being more described as the part of yourself you keep buried down deep. Maybe you have like an inner monologue that went before you're about to express, you sort of quelch it, and then you decide to answer a little bit differently. So this isn't necessarily be described in the categories I just named off prior. This is more like the little part of yourself that you keep down deep. That true feeling you have, that true perspective. Maybe you're concerned other people don't want to hear that opinion, or that will ostracize you, or maybe you're concerned of how people will take it, or maybe and we're not even talking about in just dramatic terms, because again, when we talk about these things, we talk about tarot, it's so normal for your brain to go right to the worst case scenario. But honestly, tarot is not as extreme as maybe people perceive it. Now, little minor things can have big positive changes in our life, so they are still of value and importance, but we're not talking about worst case scenario. We're talking about maybe you're afraid if you share this idea, people won't necessarily deeply judge you, but there's a loneliness because no one will really get it. That type of thing. So it's that little part of yourself that you kind of keep deep down. Now, the reason why I'm so happy to say it's in reverse is it's the opposite meaning. It's this idea of the lion, instead of being hesitant and holding back, they are instead walking forward with the confident individual. So throughout the month, I'm really happy to say this is not something that you have to really like force. It's more like you feel this inclination and then you sort of take a hold of it, of finding that moment where you have that inner monologue like we talked about, but instead of not sharing it, you kind of are like, what would happen if I did share it? And a definite feeling I'm feeling is this sense of, first you're sort of like experimenting and seeing what people's reactions are like, what even your own reaction is like. And then overall, there's this general positive like addiction to feeling like, oh my God, when I express this, I feel a little more like myself. And I like that feeling. I want to keep exploring this concept and idea. And you feel like you do it because you kind of can't help but want to keep being more connected to yourself and realizing maybe this is a part of yourself I didn't even realize had greater value than you maybe were giving it credit for or giving it the weight. So essentially this is you sort of exploring, and again, this is such a small like it would be something you might overthink. Like you might be like, well, it's not a big deal that everyone was sharing their favorite book and I maybe didn't agree with the book, and no one's going to judge me or be mad at me, but it's okay that I didn't share my opinion. I didn't want to get into it. But then there's that part of you that starts to explore, being like, I didn't really love that book, and this is my opinion, and it's not that strong, it's just what I feel. And you just kind of start to find that part of yourself that's like, why have I been keeping this down? Again, it's not just about hey, listen, everybody's making me not be able to express myself. It's not that sort of strong, intense, people trying to suppress your type of energy. It's more just realizing that you can be even a greater version of yourself. So I love that for you. That's sort of like a natural thing that pops up, but an important one that does. And when you feel it, pay attention to it, explore it, go for it. It's going to make you feel really good. Now going forward, I love how the Strength card, all of this is leading into the Nine of Cups. Now this is really fantastic because traditionally this card represents the idea of the Wish card. But my spirit guide said that this actually represents the idea of you getting every single thing you want. And this is where it gets really cool. Because I was asking if this is like a manifestation type of card. They said, my tarot spirit guide said, this is more focused on the idea of wanting. Let me just double check that. That's what they said. Yeah, my spirit guide was like, yep, that's correct. Keep going. So the important thing to focus throughout the month when we talk about that inner monologue that you maybe go, oh, no, don't worry about me. What do you want? Because when you want it this month in August, you'll actually get it. And if you just keep allowing yourself to want, then you can open the door up for receiving it. And you're exploring that side of yourself that might be like, no, I'm okay, I don't need anything. And I just say from my own personal experience, that is probably one of the hardest things I personally had to overcome. But you should really try to explore it, because what initially seems like, no, I'm okay, I'm happy without it, it's fine. Trust me, there is a world you have not experienced and seen. It's okay to have a small little well, that'd be cool to check out. You don't have to have the strongest desire. It doesn't mean something in bigger context. Just let yourself explore different parts of the world, and again, not to be redundant, yourself, by saying, well, maybe you do want this in a specific, maybe you want this to be pink or green, like a certain type of object you want, or maybe you do want to go see that movie, or you do want to go explore that workshop you hadn't explored before. Start to ask that inner voice we talked about, and say, when you feel it arrive, allow yourself just to inner monologue, or inside your head, or you could say it out loud, say, I would want that. Just let yourself say it. And then, just let the universe take care of the rest and just kind of get out of the way, forget about it, and enjoy it coming your way. So I love that for you. And last but not least, the Page of Swords. Now this one's really interesting. My spirit guide specifically told me it was an idea, because I was asking, is it an idea? Is it a person? And I was told it was an idea. So if you can see by the posture of this individual, they are noticing something right outside. Think of the circle as their inner world. We all have our own little world. Everything you come in contact with is your own little world. Now, pardon me, somebody's coming into your, someone. We're talking about an idea coming into your world. Now, if you notice, you're very aware of when it enters. You're noticing it, you're paying attention to it. But by the defensive posture, there's sort of this don't get too close, show yourself kind of thing. And basically you're being told to watch that. You don't need it to be defensive. It's okay you're noticing it. It's okay that it might be a little bit of an uncomfortable idea when it kind of pops up. But as soon as you see it and notice it, let it happen, explore it, discover it. It's not something you need to push back and create a defensive nature between you and that idea coming into your little world, so to speak. So I love this for you. Lots of seeing different sides of yourself, getting what you want, having lots of magical interactions. Very fantastic month for you. Happy August to you. If you enjoyed this reading, please give it a like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'm wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for our final group. Group number 4. Let's look at your August predictions by looking at the cards. We have your Oracle card, Compass Upright. That's so funny. 7 of Cups upright. 7 of Cups in reverse. Oh, this is so on the nose. Oh my god. King of Wands in reverse. Okay, this was a really easy read for me. Give me just one moment, though, to consult my spirit guides for any extra details. And I will be with you in one moment. Just give me a second. Oh my god. Okay, so cute. I love this. We have a special guest. While there are human spirit guides, there are also animal spirit guides, but they're all spirit guides. You know what I mean? So when I say we have a special guest narwhal, I'm referring to the animal spirit guide narwhal. But when you are addressing an animal spirit guide, whatever they are, you would say they are what they are. So hello, narwhal, you know what I mean? So I love narwhals here. Narwhal has some message for you, so we'll get into that in a moment. But let's first start with compass, and you're going to see how this is all very like on the nose. So in compass, now this card is kind of a complex one. I'm going to do the best I can to explain this. So first of all, it talks about this idea of going into uncharted territories for you. So this is like changing jobs, or within your job being given totally new things to take care of task-wise, or a position at the place, or maybe you move, or you're being put into a position where you're volunteering somewhere. You're in a totally new like environment and way you're approaching things. Now the good thing with this card is it has a positive connotation. It's this idea that with this new uncharted territory you're experiencing in August, it also comes a lot of exciting new experiences, and it's a really like a happy, joyous thing. So it's a little like, oh, okay, this is not something I'm familiar with, but I'm having a good time. Now, the main focus on this card, though, isn't that. It's the idea of, well, okay, now you're in a new situation. How do you navigate that? Because you initially are going to be excited that it's just fun and different, but then there's going to be a point where you're like, okay, well, how do I know if I'm on the right path and I'm still moving towards whatever it be your goals? Or do you feel like you're moving in a direction in life you're happy with? Or sometimes people have a reaction where they're initially excited, but they're kind of also like, hey, am I getting distracted here? Like, is this a part of the greater plan of where I want to go, or whatever you want to do in life? Whatever it is, it's this sense of like, am I still making the right decisions for me? So when it comes to this card, it focuses on the idea of the true north, your true north. Now, the interesting thing about it is it sort of warns you against your motivations being things like anything from material goods to even romances, anything that sort of is like, oh, this feels good, so I'll go over here in this direction. It's not solely based on accomplishments, you could say. It's more based on like the core, like who are you in your core, and keeping that the primary focus that guides you forward. It's not that you can't enjoy that new romance, and it's not that you can't enjoy like if you're being enticed and you have the money and you want to purchase some new things. There's nothing wrong with that. It's more the idea of what is guiding you, the impulse or the idea that this looks nice, or the general theme, or are you connecting throughout the month of August and being like, well, what's important to you right now? Do you want your world to be filled with truth? Do you want your world to be filled with fun? Do you want your world to be filled with this sense of like you can always be yourself? What is that main core goals in it? Now, my spirit guides were making it very clear, and I loved this. They wanted to make it clear that this card also has a heavy connotation with them. So this is a lot of like tuning into your spirit guides and being like, hey, I'm so excited I'm meeting all these new people. What do I do? And reaching out to them. Now, I am going to make a video talking about this on my Patreon, but because somebody asked about like how you basically through tarot reach out talking to your spirit guides, but you are welcome to use tarot to do it. I also highly recommend, first of all, I have an intuition training course as well, as long as with my tarot one, which straight up shows you how you can go and talk to them. But if you don't have those things as resources, you are also welcome to reach out to them to be like, hey, can you like give me a sign that like this is the decision I'm thinking I'm making? Is this a good one? What do you guys think about this idea? And look around you for those signs. It can come from a song, it can come from an event, it could come from like a knocking or a sound. It's signs come in a variety of ways, but these are also still very like you have to be kind of sort of tuned in, if you will, to be able to be like, this is a sign, this is for me, this is what it's directly talking about. But on the other hand, you can use something a little more direct, like not only I would say the resources I just gave talking about the tarot and the intuition training course, those are both like very on the nose, like very, you're talking to your spirit guide and you're getting that information. But you can also like within meditation, right before you go into meditation, or maybe right before you go to sleep to dream, you can say to your crew, hey crew, this is what I'm thinking about. Am I headed in a direction that's still in alignment with what I truly, really want? Because remember, like again, when we talk about not being sort of deceived by, again, it's not about anyone deceiving you, but it's like, okay, so let's say you meet someone cute and they're new and you're interested in them, right? And it's exciting and you want to explore it. Are you continuing to explore that just because you're excited, you're finding a connection with someone that way? Or do you have in your mindset of being like, well, going forward, I want to feel these type of and have these type of experiences with an individual. Am I going to experience that with them, or am I getting lost with it just being a new connection with a new potential romantic partner? You get what I'm saying here? So you're just kind of connecting in with your spirit guide throughout the month and just saying like, hey, can you give me a sign? What do you think? So on and so forth. Again, those resources are there for you in the description below if you're welcome to explore them. And you're also welcome to just explore it through meditation and dreams, just putting the question out there. And then as it comes to, you want to pay attention to like anything from slight visuals to if you see a dream and you're like, what did that mean? That seemed so weird. Break down that dream. It doesn't have to be super on the nose like about with the individuals you're asking about in the dream. It can seem very out of whack and say, well, did the dream make you feel like you were put in a position to have to like take care of yourself? And maybe you're being basically given the notion through your spirit guides of saying like, yeah, this is a really empowering movement. You should make this decision. Or does this, you can question yourself. They're making you question your own decision, saying, do I feel empowered when I'm making this decision? And that's how they're giving you a response. You see what I'm saying? You're breaking it down that kind of way. Anyways, going forward with that idea of you're trying out new things, but you're staying focused on what is it that I really want in my heart of hearts? What's important to me? Again, it's that idea of like, yes, you want a lot of money, but do you also want it because you want a lot of opportunity? And so you're focusing on, I want a lot of opportunity. I want a lot of like feeling in charge of my own life, that type of thing. Now, going forward, with all of that in mind, as you can tell, you're going to be given a lot of opportunity to make decisions. And that's the main thing being shown here in both the Seven of Cups and getting repeated again in the Seven of Cups in reverse, but with a dash of a warning with what's going on in the King of Wands in reverse. So the main thing my spirit guide says is you're going to want to focus on becoming decisive throughout the month. You're not going to sit and wait and look at all your options. You're going to get a lot of them, and you're going to throughout the month need to be like, okay, well, this is what I'm doing. I've chosen that. And then you get a couple more options. Okay, now I've chosen that. It's not one of those circumstances where like, you know how you're looking for a new job and you're like, man, I have these 4 different places and I have them all available that I could potentially work out. Which one do I want to pick at? Throughout the month, you're going to keep getting lots of options because we talked about this situation you're being put in. To be honest with you, to me, subtext-wise, it sounds like maybe the uncharted territory is that you were never given so many consistently options. It's like you're everyone's best choice, so to speak, and you're going to have fun throughout the month getting to choose, but you are going to want to make those choices consistently and decisively. But keeping that in mind, though, there's 2 things you want to keep in mind. One, we'll talk about the negative and positive. I'll do negative first because it's more fun to end with the positive. The negative is in the King of Wands in reverse. When it's in reverse, which it is focusing on that, and we have this card going into it as sort of a warning. Not what Narwhal says, but the idea of Seven of Cups referring to somebody making decisions. The King of Wands in reverse is being described by my spirit guide that this is somebody who's becoming overly focused. So while it is good to be like, okay, this is what I choose, don't overthink the process. Remember, you're going to keep getting more opportunities. You have to a certain degree, not make it a bigger deal than it is. But also, one of the things that's guiding you when we talk about like your true north is your intuition, your gut. Don't confuse your gut with preconceived fears. Tune into yourself and don't get to a point of being like, what if I do this and it equals this? Just be like, what feels right? And again, tune into your spirit guides. Tune into being like, well, this is what I really want in the long grand scheme of things, the general theme, the general belief I have. This is what I connect to. So this seems like it aligns with that. And again, you got your spirit guides whenever. Remember, I just want to be this clear. I made a whole video about this on my Patreon. You can ask your spirit guides for help 1,000 times a day. They are infinite beings. You are not bothering them. They genuinely chose and volunteered to work with you and love you and want to help you. So they're there. Use them. They're a resource. They're excited to work with you. But anyways, going on. So it's about being decisive but not overly focused on it, where you're sort of stressing yourself out, taking away your own intuition and the process. You're just meant to be like, okay, you know what, this feels right. This is the decision I make. Move on to the next one. Forget about it. Move on. But on the positive note, we have Narwhal. And I love what Narwhal was just saying to me. They said, it doesn't take many waves to create an ocean. And the ocean is meant to represent, which I love that. That's so beautiful. The ocean is this vast world, this vast, varied ecosystem. And so those waves are those decisions you're making. So it won't take many decisions for, as you're making them, to create an entirely new world for yourself. And that might seem a little stressful in its sense of like, whoa, like I can do anything. But again, it is about the fact that as long as you stay true to this is what I want going forward in its core idea, you will make the right decisions. Not only do you have help from your spirit guides, but you yourself, you can trust yourself. You got yourself this far to create opportunities. Things happen for a reason. And there's a very good chance, I'm going to just double check on my spirit guide. Yeah, spirit guide was like, you're absolutely right, tell them that. So you're being given an opportunity to have lots of options throughout August. Why? Because you worked hard for that. Because you're given an opportunity to learn that not only can you attract it, but you can handle it. And it wouldn't come into your life if you couldn't handle making the right decisions for yourself. But by pausing, looking at your options and making ones you feel that are the best for you, you can create an entirely new world for yourself. Remember, your world is the everyday ways you live it and interactions you have with other individuals or places or ideas. And at any given moment, with the right choices in place, just a few of them, you can have a totally different world, the world of your dreams, something filled with passion and excitement and maybe it involves a lot of money or exciting connections or a fun everyday way of spending it through your career, whatever it is, just by making them. So it's about getting excited about it and realizing the magnitude of your decisions, no matter how small they are, but not overthinking it and moving away from your intuition, and instead building trust within yourself. That's something that you can carry into the long term, realizing how you have so much power to create the world you want, and at any given point, if you want a new world, you can do it again. And also knowing that you have your back and so do your spirit guides. So I love this for you. Very exciting. Very exciting. It sounds like a lot of like adventure, cool new things, but also building something entirely different while building a deep inner trust and intuition with yourself. That is a pretty darn cool August. And usually for most people, nothing happens in August. Not for you. Not for you. Not on your compass. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this reading. I love you to pieces. I look forward to seeing the next one. Please give this video a like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.